Ahoy, hoy!
Ahoy, hoy, everyone.
How's it going? Look, we are in the tomb. There we are.
What in
Hooray! We're like in the dark, gloomy, dark, gloomy night.
Yep.
How's it going, everybody? It's Sunday.
Are we the right height here? I feel like I'm
Sure.
sitting in a hole.
It could, all right,
There we
but
go.
you know, when we get everybody else on screen, it starts to
right.
get all like, you know, the perspective is weird.
Well, all those adjustments aside, we're super happy to see you.
Yeah, we're super happy to see everybody today. It's I think we've got a fun thing to talk about today, and it really ties in with some stuff we're gonna be
Come here,
doing.
buddy.
Oh, hi, Logan. We had an escape. It's like, seriously, he will escape as soon as he hears us saying hello if the door is not properly closed. Oh, Logan.
It's kooky hijinks here.
It is. It's always kooky
at the House of
here.
Richard.
Let me see.
Everyone, a deep breath.
Well, I want to say hi to everybody who's here, but I need to get over to the thing on YouTube over here. It's like a whole thing.
Well, I can tell you, I'm all fired up about Lego right now. Yesterday, we were hanging out in the back with Logan, and I opened up the Brickheads Mandalorian and Child set and was just playing with it, just playing with the pieces, seeing what there was there. You know, I think it's going to be a tough challenge.
It is going to be a tough challenge. It's got a lot of, but it's also got a lot of really cool pieces.
Yeah, well, you get 9 of those Brickheads bricks, right? So that's the first technical challenge there. Is what do you do with those?
Is it going to be any tougher than the Street Sweeper?
I don't think so.
Which was less pieces, I believe, and a lot more pieces of the same color.
No, I think it's going to be cool. There's a number of technical pieces there, but I felt like I just want to play Lego, and I opened the box, and since we were hanging out back there just sitting on the bed, I opened up the box and dumped all the pieces out, and it was like sitting on the floor at a convention or something. Just, you know, playing for a while. And then I got up early this morning, well, for me, a little early, and got down on my hands and knees underneath a table to a big jumble and pulled out all the Technic out of it.
That's always good.
Yeah.
More Technic.
Yep.
More Technic,
and sorting, right?
Well, hey, let's say hi to who's here today. I'm going to move this over here. So,
all right.
So there we go.
Look, we can look right almost.
Brickaroo Bonsai, always good to see you. How's it going? Brickman Mosaics Art is here. Chris Ice Cream Lego Jigsaw Done Chalice. All right. I can tell Chris is feeling better because the names are returning and getting ever longer, which I love.
They're like little haikus.
Cowboy Cornado is here. Ahoy howdy. Darren Siegfried, Fabufan MKE, Holly is here, joining us in just a few minutes. Hooded One, Joel Marbella, John Luttrell, Luke Solarzano, Matthew Builds Bricks. How's it going, Matthew? Minifig Chick, Monica Berry, and Moto. I love that that's another little haiku.
Yep.
We need that T-shirt like Moto has. I know we talked about that before,
Which
but we
one
need
is that?
The T-shirt he has with the one that's in Helvetica and it says blank and blank and blank. Like fill in the blanks. PT McEwen is here. Remy Baker, Rob Zaccardi, and the Zaccardis. Lana, Elena, and Vanessa. Shane Levan is here.
Flynn.
Yeah.
You had me at Helvetica.
That's actually how we met. That other story, no, it was over a font. So WGJL Builds is here. Whisper Runner, how's it going? Wilfred is here. Bonsoir. Will Letchworth. There you go. That's right. Did you say it right? I got it wrong. How's it going, Will? Zach Highmark is here, and Zarakino Kim. And Johnny Cat, I saw just
popped right.
Marade is here. Awesome. It's always a good Sunday when when the entire crew shows up.
Oh, and I have actually just a moment for what's going on.
But it has to say fill in the blank on the back.
You know, can I go into the way back machine for anyone who remembers it here?
What's that?
Is Match Game was like so and so and so and so was so
Sally's sweetheart was so in love
that she
how in love was she? Oh, geez.
Blank. And Brett Summers and Charles Nelson Riley would come up with witty things to fill in the blank.
Is it a big Mad Max or D&D maxi fig action figure behind up on the shelf? Oh, now I want to know. Oh no, that's the no, that's the werewolf plushie from Nightmare Before Christmas that Richard got me for Christmas. It was in my stocking.
Look, he's wolfing out. He's busting
like,
out of his shirt,
literally hiding out.
Well, by the werewolf clock, right?
Oh my goodness. Yes. So, WGGO Bill. This is
in Helvetica.
That's it. That is absolutely 100% the one that we need. Oh, Brickman Mosaic says, darn. That makes me think of Herman Munster.
Yes, jumping up and down.
Darn, and all the
dust falling from the
ceiling. Falling. Hey, Cheap Brick is here. How's it going? So gosh, well,
so sorry, I'm gonna I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't mean to be rude. I'm actually doing my sticker research right now, so I'll be right back with you in a second.
Oh, the Hornburgers are here. Ahoy hoy Hornburgers. Marilyn Parmley is here. How's it going in the Parmleys? Hi to Dave and Steve.
Marilyn.
You're there, I hope. Dallas Rich is here. See, that's always why you wait until like 10 after to like say hi, because the man like that's when like it gets really full. But shall we go ahead and invite our guests?
I think we should invite our guests. Oh, do we don't any longer need to have headphones, do we?
We haven't in a little while.
That's so often. I mean, that's so awesome. Well, when we play D&D, we have to have headphones now.
That's true.
Right, see?
All right.
Let's
go ahead and welcome our friends. Moto is here. Hey, Moto.
Smooth.
Very nice.
Yeah. That was a close call, close shave call.
And Kara is here. Hi, Kara.
Hi.
And Holly is here. Hi, Holly. How's it going?
Hi, Holly.
Hi.
Ahoy, hoy. So, how's everybody's Sunday going so far?
We all seem to be wearing black with prints, except for Richard.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm wearing navy blue, actually.
Okay.
I'm wearing a stealth solar system t-shirt. Atom solar system.
I should have worn skeletons. Oh, well.
Oh, my goodness. Well,
I'll have to get with it with the black clothes again.
I guess so. Oh, and I'm going to see now we're squished up here. All right, tip back a little bit. There we go. So gosh, it's Sunday. So we yesterday got to see Kara and Robert, Paint Pusher, and it was awesome.
Yep.
We had a great time. We went for a walk on the beach, fully masked and socially distanced and all of the things you're supposed to do.
Lots of fresh air.
But it was awesome to be out there and get to see them. And then on the way home,
to give you your pin.
Oh, yes.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's right. Darn it all. Well, next time.
I did the exact opposite.
Next week.
Keep going.
Savings account.
On the way home, we went by a neighborhood in San Francisco that we used to spend a lot of time in when we were younger, and even when we were dating when we were younger. Like, it was just like a place to hang out, and hadn't been there in a really, really long time. And, they just are letting people back in shops again here in California. So we went to Gamescape in San Francisco, which is an awesome game store that we've been, and I heard the guy was saying they're just celebrated their 35th anniversary.
In the Lower Haight, right?
In the Lower Haight. And I was like, wow, I've been shopping there like since you opened, basically. It's like I've been shopping there since I lived in San Francisco. It's been there a long time. And then we went into Comics Experience, which is just 2 doors down, a really great comic store. And I was so psyched because we walked in and it was all female employees. I was like, that's awesome. This is not the comic book store I want to be in right now.
And they were both of the stores were really responsibly run and set up with and safe with how they were letting people in.
Yeah, super safe with everything. They had all their sanitizer out, only, so many people allowed in at a time. And
but it was just great to I wanted a new little 2-person card game that we could play, and I talked with the employee at the store. I didn't look for 40,000 reviews on Amazon. I talked with the employee at the store
who knew what he was talking about,
and it was awesome, and he recommended this super fun game.
Yeah, so there wasn't the reviews that were like, I thought this was a video game, 1 star. They didn't read the description.
I did the exact opposite of what you guys did yesterday.
What did you do?
Well, because you went to the beach, so you are at elevation 0, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I went up to 6,000 vertical feet with my son.
I saw really adventurous looking photos looking down.
Yeah. It's called North Table and North Table Mesa. So we started maybe at 52, probably 5,500 feet, and then went another 500 vertical up on a little 1 mile trail.
Oh,
kind of steep
fun.
in the beginning, but yeah, then we climbed up even more to get to a little place that you can use as a. If you have a special permit, you can basically chisel crystals out of pockets. But we were being spies, so our mission was to see if it'd be worthwhile to get the permit. And so, small spy master said, "Mission success. We have to get the permit and come back."
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I stayed home all day and played video games.
Oh, that's fair.
Yay. 1 star.
My day is Lego and video games is what
I thought it was a card game. 1 star.
Oh, well, when we were at the game store, I was super excited. Do I need more dice? No. Did I really want these dice? Yes. And they were affordable, and I was in the game store. I got these awesome pink dice, and I got to tell you, pink dice are not necessarily easy to come by. They're really, and I got a whole
rose
set.
quartz.
Yeah, let me see. I think I might be able to. Oh, there we go. I got these awesome pink dice, a whole set of them.
But do they always roll a 20?
The magic of pink, possibly.
There you go.
Natural 20. Yes.
There you go. Yeah. That's what's important.
I was super, super psyched for that. And then I went into
with a plus 17
to pink. Yes, a plus 17 to pink.
Yeah.
And then I got a Scarlet Witch and Vision compendium of kind of their whole story arc, which was
is that an Alec? I was going to ask you, is that an Alec Ross cover?
I don't know.
Let me see it again.
I'll look around once we get rolling. I'll look around and see if
Holly's probably just as good as me as trying to identify it. It looked like one to me.
Thanks, Shane.
I'm going to say no on that one, but I could be wrong. I can kind of see it.
It's close. But
thank you, Shane, so much for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Awesome. Yeah, it's but it's great, and it's like a lot of the it's the arc of their story from pretty far back. So I'm excited to revisit some of this stuff because, of course,
Hooded One doesn't think it's Ross.
And I bent poor Minifig Chick's ear off yesterday talking about WandaVision, and because I'm 100% obsessed with WandaVision.
Very good show.
For multiple reasons, but 100% obsessed. So good. So good. Okay, pins. Yes, let's do pins. Wow, we're going with classic characters today, both of us. So why don't you show yours? We'll go first. All right.
It's funny, I don't have many Mickey pins, but I love this ride, Soren. So this is Mickey as the aviator in Soren. I can smell the orange trees flying, flying over the orange groves now.
grove. And I've got classic mini today. Whoa! Oh no!
Uh-oh.
Not anymore.
Here we go. She's not gonna.
Oh,
But anyway, you get the idea. You get the idea.
So, do you guys remember like the Visions of the Future? I forget the ride. It was at Epcot where one of the parts was they had the orange groves in the future and they blasted the citrus smell all over you.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
I know they do that now in Soarin', where the benches take off and you feel like you're flying because you're in front of a sort of seamless huge screen.
But they used to do that at Epcot too, and the thing that Moto's talking about.
How crazy!
Yeah, it was a very interesting ride.
1980s memories. 1980s memories for me. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So okay, well, so what have we got? Kara, how about you go?
Okay, so I have a special one.
That's Holly.
Wait,
sorry.
that's not Kara.
There we
Well,
go.
we look so much alike. It's really hard to tell.
I get you confused all the time.
So this is a special one from the Disney Family Museum. Minnie Mouse. It's a little dangler.
Oh, it's adorable. Hey, and we both have classic minis on today.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Cool.
I love it. Perfect. We've all chosen like classic character pins. That's great.
From the wonderful Disney Family Museum.
Oh, I miss the Disney Family Museum. Oh my goodness.
Well, now I want to change mine because everybody else has Mickey pins. Honestly, I'm not even sure if now I'm looking to see if I even have a Mickey.
You must have quite a container, just judging by how much you're looking from left
By
to
the
right.
sound as she's like
the sound of
digging
it.
through the.
Yeah.
I just have the standard dots bracelet, so I'll go. Same old dots bracelet. Nothing too special.
I'm actually not 100% sure what this is. Here we go. Here we go.
Whoa.
That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, it's like
very
one of those
nice.
pop figures.
Nice.
Sus.
Very nice.
That Mickey is sus.
Yeah, Mickey pin.
Well, I know, didn't we sent you a Mickey pin, didn't we, Moto? Didn't
Yeah.
the one we sent you have a Mickey head on it? I think it was
Oh,
very.
yeah, I'll wear that.
I think we chose a simple like graphic design.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there you go. Straight,
To the
simple, to the point.
It's kind of interesting. There's a Mickey trademark next to the Mickey to let you know Mickey is trademarked.
It's a hidden Mickey
That's a
pin.
hidden Mickey pin. So
Although
Okay.
this one's not very hidden.
no. Yeah, no, that's a thing that they put on a bunch of different pins. It's not on every one, but they call them the
Yeah, the
hidden
ba-
Mickey pin. But yeah,
And then the
Oh, is that
backing
the
is
back?
the Mickey.
yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Holly,
Trifecta.
check it out. When I was going through bricks earlier, pulling out Technic, I came on this keychain.
Wow.
Right?
We have our
Ooh.
sausage blood keychain.
I don't even have one of those.
We got it because wait, what was it? Oh, I remember. It was at Bricks Cascade.
Is it something you can talk about on air?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
it was at Bricks Cascade, and he came up and presented me with like the collection of the stuff. And he said, "This is because you referenced your big sausage fingers on Lego Masters."
That'll do it.
Classic.
I'd forgotten about that. Oh man, yeah, we got like a sticker and a keychain and a couple of other things. That
Yeah, there was a sticker with sausages in all the colors.
Oh,
So you're
yeah.
saying all it takes is you have to appear on national television with a Lego themed thing and talk about sausage.
So there you go. So if you want sausage stuff, and
That's a high bar.
you get on Lego Masters, just say sausage somewhere.
Yeah,
I
sometimes
guess.
you don't even see the sausage coming.
Nope.
That is so true.
Okay, so
Hey,
let's
I'm
see.
all in show and tell mode. Look, our buddy Dave gave us this cool space stuff, and this astronaut like helmet. Let me
I
see
think
if
it's
it'll
like an
focus.
underwater. Is it an underwater thing?
What do you think? Is this
Hey,
underwater?
Jeff McElwee's here.
What
Yeah,
is?
that's underwater.
Yeah. Well,
He's
he's
got
got
like
a,
aquanauts or something.
and then this raises up as well.
But then
It's-
the back of it has this like round fan, like swirly fan thing
Yep.
on it. Very cool.
Sorry, it's not more in focus, but I thought that was cool. If you know what theme that's
Wow.
from, let me know.
Aquazone, says
Wow.
Darren.
Oh,
There
well,
we go.
cool.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that
Darren.
sounds about right.
Oh, and then Jeff McElwee says Aquanauts. So, and now, were the Aquanauts in the Aquazone, or were those two separate things? I'm curious. I'm curious to
I
know
don't know.
that.
I'm curious about the theme.
Well, yeah. No, well, maybe we need to do one of our history of shows on Aquazone.
Oh yeah, look at that.
That would be fun.
Aquanauts was a subcomponent of Aquazone.
Okay.
Do you guys
cool.
ever like
Wow.
apply the wrong jingle? Like sometimes like you hear things and then you start to sing it with like a jingle that applies to something else. Does anybody else ever do that?
Oh yes,
I do
that's
that all
happened
the time.
times.
Because like right now I'm thinking like get in the zone, Aquazone, you know?
Get in the zone. Aquazone.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! All
It's
right.
a thing that happens pretty frequently, and my family thinks I'm bizarre.
Well, there's a lot of media input. It's gonna cross over now.
Yes,
and
there's a lot. There's definitely a lot.
now
of
more than
crossover.
ever, right?
Well, so what do we say we get to this sticker time? All right, let's go. Yay, stickers at show and tell. And Holly, I saw you holding one up, so we'll let you go first.
Okay. I don't know if I've shown this one or not. It just kind of was on top of my pile, and I don't recall showing this.
It's okay.
It is
Keep
from set 76003. That would be Battle of Smallville. And we have some very useful, decorative, on clear.
Ooh,
Panel.
Nice.
And it looks like lots of empty clear space too.
Yeah.
Future
Very
Grable.
nice.
Some shiny there, too.
Yeah.
Sleek. It's
And
like
it's
from
silver.
Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Very nice.
I'm going to hang on to that one.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
look for that one.
Wow, you have an idea for a sticker, Holly? I'm impressed. I know that's not usually your thing. All right, who's ready next? Okay, Moto.
Really?
Sure.
I saw you on mute, so I figured that was you were probably ready. All right, Moto, here we go.
I have an applied sticker. So
Okay.
once again, using the hints from before, I can tell this is from set 7704, but I have no clue what that set is.
Nice.
I will look it up.
cyberpunk.
I also have this numbered sticker, and it came off a train, so
Yeah.
I have some homework to do.
I
before
have
the end of this
that
thing.
sticker. I want to say could it be Toy Story possibly, or
So
something.
I will let you know before after car is finished. I will.
yeah, something, some kind of Western train, I think. And it looks like 7704 is Exo Force, Sonic Phantom.
Oh, totally makes sense.
Cool.
Oh, right. They had a lot of those like little funny little like the lines with the dots on the end of them.
Like circuit
very
boards.
Tron, circuit board looking.
Oh,
Okay.
it's called KT. What? No. Oh, it's from a 9-volt train. That's how old this thing is.
Oh,
My
um,
original train.
10205-1 Lego locomotive train 9 volts. My own train.
oh, my own train. Yes, that's where
Yeah,
that's
cool.
where a lot of the motors. You can get a lot of the motors from the those sets.
Yeah,
That's
so who
great.
knew? I just happened to pull an ancient vintage awesome piece from a
We
great.
love 9-volt trains
Maybe my
so
sticker had a
much.
different. Maybe it looks the same and has a different number or something. Because I definitely have something with like those rivets around it. Interesting.
Joel
Yeah,
Marbella, I
fascinating.
completely agree with you. Buck Rogers needs a streaming service reboot. I love it. In their white unisex bodysuits with
No,
like
not the
go-go
70s
boots.
one. If they're gonna redo it, then they need to go full like 1940s, like crazy
What, like Buster
sci-fi.
Crab?
Yeah, like I want to see
Totally.
all those like bubble cities and all that stuff. I want
Bitty,
to.
bitty, bitty. Okay.
You want like Flash Gordon
No,
stuff.
no,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
no, Tweaky,
And-
no.
And Dr. Theopolis.
Well, maybe if there's like one of the characters like a mega rap star that could rock Dr. Thermopolis as like the huge clock or something.
See you later, Chief Rick Geek. We'll see ya. Have a good one.
I don't know. Colonel Wilma Deering was pretty cool.
I don't know. The talking light up canteen was just not cutting it for me. I'm sorry. I just was not. It was not cutting it for me at all.
If you want, I could go get a Simon Says from the next room and turn it on and just put it
All right, Kari, you got some stickers?
I do not. Not today.
No stickers today. Okay, well then we will go forward with ours. Here we go.
Joel Marbella.
You ready?
Yes. This is, pardon me, this is from set 40307, 2018.
Ooh, shiny.
12 by 18 studs small. It's the Disney Princess Supplemental Accessories set sent to us by PT McEwen. Thanks, PT.
Thank you.
And it came with it had a clock and like a tall vanity dressing mirror, a throne with a crown on it.
It's so good.
A really fancy bathroom cabinet.
Yeah, and
a book.
And there's also, check it out, a big purple sparkly strip. Well, not sparkly, but a shiny purple strip there that is unused and
Oh boy.
available for something.
That thing is so shiny, it's almost like those gazing balls that they use for VFX to get the surrounding environment. So by holding that up, someone could pre-render your entire space.
You could see our whole studio in
you
there.
can unwrap it and see the entire Flynn and Richard
that's
space.
funny seeing studios and reflections. I had, when I first was learning about studio lighting, I had this obsession of looking for the lighting sources and studio equipment and camera people in the reflections of the model's eyes and in like hubcaps and fenders and all that. You could see it. It's all there.
It's all there until digital painting occurred.
And about the Rebrick Challenge. And yeah, we can talk about that for a second. So the Rebrick Challenge, we are in the middle of our Rebrick Challenge for the Mandalorian and Child Brickhead set. We gave everybody lots of lead time, so hopefully you were able to get yours. So you are to make something out of this that's not a Brickheads. Not a Brickheads. Anything else. Out of only the bricks that came in the box, but you don't have to use all of them. But you can if you want to, and you get extra points for using all the bricks.
Extra points for our no point system.
Exactly.
I was going to say, how many points do I currently have?
You have a bunch of points.
You have 1,000,000 points, Moto.
I thought I had the square root of -1 because it's imaginary.
I think points are like bells in Animal Crossing. There's a bunch of them to be had.
Yes, there's always points to be had. Everybody has a point. Has points.
Everyone's a winner.
Joel says the no parts left behind achievement. Exactly.
There's all these technical pieces, like this 1x2 tall.
There's a couple of nice printed pieces.
Yeah, there's a ton of snot bricks in this thing.
There's chrome telescopes or lightsaber
handles,
Yeah, there's like 4 of those in there.
Remy's
Yeah.
2x2 rounds.
Welcome to Whose Brick Is It Anyway, where the points don't matter and
So what is that
everything's
color? Because that's technically not chrome, right? That's like it's some kind of
bright
is it
silver.
metallic silver, I think.
It's bright
Yeah, I
silver,
guess you're right. It's not totally mirrored, but it's super
Right.
shiny.
Yeah. I was trying to remember what they call it.
I wonder, it's about as shiny as that drum lacquered gold,
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
but on a really complex shape.
Well, we have an idea where we're going, but we haven't gotten.
I just started playing with pieces and assembling them in different ways yesterday and saw what ideas had come out of that.
You're ahead of me. I have a thought of a concept of an idea.
Flynn had a
Combination.
concept.
Yeah, I'm just to the point of pouring the bricks out of the bags, but that's already putting me way ahead as far as most challenges go.
For most challenges, you're like 7 days ahead of the curve right there.
Yeah,
I
I'd normally be
myself
doing this the day after the challenge.
I gave myself a fiddly challenge while I'm sitting here. I have all these conveyor belt
Shreds.
pieces, and I'm
Yeah, the
assembling
tracks.
them so I don't lose them again.
I love those. I love these These are great pieces.
That's really smart. I did that, and what it meant is that when small art director was tiny art director, it just meant he was able to find it and completely disassemble and scatter the pieces in all sorts of corners. So to this day, I'll be vacuuming and I'll like decide I'm going to dust someplace I haven't seen in a while. I'll pull apart something and I'll see a little tread sitting in there. It's like the tread scavenger hunt now.
Oh, wow. Look at this. Rob Zaccardi says, I'm all done with mine with all pieces used, and Vanessa is done. Just need Lana to do hers. Wow.
Oh, superstar.
Can't keep up.
That's amazing. That's
It started early, I think. But yeah.
The
Wow.
Zaccaris are always overachievers in the challenge.
Look, we're all playing with Lego.
Not me.
Go figure.
Almost.
Crazy.
I decided I was going to resist temptation. I've already poured the pieces out, but I'm going to set this aside for later.
I'm not.
Yeah, hey, why not?
So, would you say that all of this building right now constitutes a collaboration?
Wow, Moto. And that you would bring that up.
It feels it's funny how that happens.
You know why, Moto? It's
Why?
because you know how I can tell it's a collaboration? Because someone is supervising.
Because of the excellent yeah, is it because of the excellent segue? Is that why? You can tell. Thanks. That was much better than what I had come up with, Moto.
That was a perfect segue.
But I think before we get to too deep into this,
Mine was as clunky as a two-wheeled
my
Segway.
dear,
Yes, what's that?
I
bet it
think
goes
coffee
there.
will help
Oh,
us
it's
be
true.
much better conversationalists in this upcoming
It's true.
conversation.
And you're not building, but you're definitely fiddling.
Am I supposed to be building?
No.
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying
No.
Moto shouldn't feel alone for not building.
Yeah, don't
right
feel
now.
bad for not building. I'm here not building as well. I'm noodling with the thing.
I'm just organizing. I'm reducing entropy.
Well, technically, I should be the one going to get the coffee, but Richard has made a rule now that he has to go get the coffee because he says he can't vamp if I leave.
That's a good rule.
I'm gonna come up with some like fluff stories, right? that I can just like pop in there, just like pull out the card.
Oh wait, I think we have to take the train to the Magical Kingdom right now. But that just adds a point to the Richard has to leave on the bingo card. So I'm all for that. But no, it was
Oh my
funny.
goodness.
Flynn told me the topic for today. I'm like, oh, I never collaborate. But then on further discussion, I gave him like 8 different types of collaboration and overdid it. So
Exactly. So it's interesting. So the reason I wanted to talk about this today is that we are getting ready to head into convention season here in a couple of months, like where there's going to be lots of them kind of in a row, right? So, and I know that Tricky Lug and Tricky Lug / TrickyBricks is we're going to be doing some more virtual collabs for now. But I know we are all looking forward to the day when we actually have a convention to go to that we can all actually do an in-person collaboration with. I don't even know. My heart may explode when that happens. Like just from pure happiness. Like that would be amazing. So
I'm just sorry. I'm just thinking back to how overwhelmed you were at Bricks Cascade and trying to imagine like leveling that up.
Oh well, because by the time we're all together again, season 2 of Lego Masters will have come out, and we will be like no one will even care about us anymore.
I just mean like as far as like the emotional like.
Oh sure, yes, the emotion
around
level.
people,
I think we'll find him uncontrollably sobbing while lying down next to one of those support columns in one of the spaces.
I might be right there with him.
But, even Lego Masters stuff aside, at Bricks Cascade, the collaboration with Boone and Perry
And Mark
and Sam.
It was really special, and I think we've had to kind of
And Mike,
we've had to really change the way we think about collaborations during COVID.
It's true.
I think that there will be I mean, we've had to adjust. So we did our first big collaboration was Fab Max, and I would consider it a highly successful collaboration, considering it was the first thing that we'd ever done together. And we're kind of like spread out everywhere. But I think one of the most important things about like having a successful collaboration, and I know like Moto, you and I talked about this earlier, is having a set of rules or parameters that everybody is to follow. Because if we would have just said, okay, Fab Max is the theme, have fun, we still would have gotten a lot of amazing models, but they wouldn't necessarily have been as cohesive as they could have been without a sort of establishing some rules, even though we only had a few really. And I know one of them was to like stick mainly with the Fabuland color palette. You could go outside of it a bit, but we tried to stick with just those, like those main colors.
And that went a long way, right?
That went a huge long way.
There were a lot of different shapes of models there, but they were really unified in their color palette.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that kind of sold it all together was that sticking to a color palette to me, like visually. Together.
I was just remarking to you how a collab, in order to be a collab, first of all it's rooted in the social component.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Without the social component of people coming together, it's not a collaboration. So I can't collaborate with just myself. That's just not the point of it.
Exactly.
So,
right.
Yeah. Well, it's a conversation, right? Yeah. Like you might start at a certain point, but you don't just go away forever and show what you came up with. There was a lot of conversation back and forth during Fab Max.
Yeah, and it's also a lot of it is like when we were doing theater, one of my favorite types of shows to do, especially like towards like my later stage career. I really loved doing variety shows because which is very much like what we're doing with a building collab, is like we came up with a theme and a set of parameters, like and then everybody kind of went off and worked on their piece of it and then brought it back together to create like a bigger whole.
Yeah, and originally I was thinking that collaboration was more like your Ewok Adventureland, where thematically it's like we're making an Ewok Adventureland. However, there's many components to that, and each person owned one of the main features that wound up becoming the cohesive whole. Right, that's one way you can do a collab. Whereas Fab Max, it was the thematic collab, and so you had the color palette and sort of the story. It had to be post-apocalyptic. It had to have a certain color palette. It had to kind of read as Fabuland, this, that, and the other. And even though there was many separate vehicles, it read to me a lot like those, like bunker belts, it was on the opposite side, where it was a common theme with a lot of variety in the building techniques and the vehicles.
Right.
Because it had to be a vehicle. Whereas certain things, some collaborations are more like, it can be any theme as long as you make it like an underground bunker, populate an underground bunker.
Yeah,
right.
Or I tend to think of Micropolis. You have to build on top of a 16 by 16 base grid, and then it becomes a city. Or I was even talking to you, Richard or Flynn, about how if you want to build a city with multiple people independently, you have to come up with a standard like the Mills plate standard, right, out of Minnesota.
Right.
Where Mills is now a spec, but that spec it was originally intended to drive a collaboration on building a cohesive city that was able to snap together and work together.
Well, and that's exactly it. It's defining the parameters, defining the rules that you're working within, whether it's theme, color, size, story component. That's like the first thing you have to do is define those parameters before you can do anything else.
Well, and if you're going to be, if you're not building with Mills and you're not building, like, say, Micropolis has a standard as well, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can, everybody knows where the pins go and the holes go. And then whatever you build on top of that, where the sidewalks are, wherever you build on top of that is your thing, right? But it all, it all fits together. Like Brickworm's quilt collaboration, right? Is a similar thing. There's you know,
A standard.
yeah, a standard.
Moto, what you said makes me think about some very different kinds of collaborations, right? Like the quilt collab had a very strict size regulation because of how they were all going to be assembled. And Fab Max, those pieces were never going to be on a table together in a layout. They were going to be on photos that were next to one another. So I think the rules didn't need to be quite as rigid. I'm reminded right now of two collaborations at Bricks Cascade, one of which was all around Jurassic Park. And I think it was unified. It was a large layout that had a lot of different collaborators, but it was unified by the landscape. I think more than anything else. And maybe there was a train that went around it?
It was. I don't remember the train, but it was.
I remember multiple vehicles. But one thing that this makes me think is, if you're doing a layout, then you have to think about composition, right? Whether that's a quilt or like a train layout or something, where you can, you have some pieces in the back that may be even a different scale than the stuff in the front.
Yeah, I think that's why I don't participate in collaborations very often. Or one of the reasons I don't is, like, for my lug, we always have seasonal displays at a Bricks and Minifigs.
Mm-hmm.
So for that one, like the Halloween one, everything was spooky and it was all Google Sheets. So they laid out the entire table parameter in Google Sheets and then worked out how much of a section every person got, and they sort of described what was going to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then right now, or there's a winter display, going up where, is pretty much all the, like you guys talked about, a lot of the holiday sets or builds. It was all white snow patterns and then things coming together. The next one's going to be Pirates themed, where they're planning out all the islands and the oceans and stuff with all the things. But it's all pretty much at a certain scale.
Right.
Whereas some of the things I build, I can't put them down. It's just, it doesn't fit, right? It doesn't quite jive.
Well, right, but if you were planning it ahead of time,
Oh yeah, I absolutely could. I absolutely could participate because the parameters are very clear. I'm just saying, usually I'm off doing my own thing, and it's not that cut and dry where my stuff would fit in. But it is. I found that like Google Sheets helps. People having a chat back and forth and taking photos of their works in progress as they come together really helps tie everything together. Another really good strategy is modularity. So what I mean by that is when you make, you don't associate what you're building with the landscape itself. You can build something that could be set anywhere. It makes it easy on the day of assembly to maybe move your lighthouse around. If someone has a Kraken that's a bit bigger, you can really make a dynamic overall scene flow really well visually if everything's somewhat modular, so it can adjust in place or move or jump
like
at the last minute.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's why it's important to have some kind of standard.
Yeah.
Like the Great Ball contraption too.
Right.
That's a great idea of a collaboration I never would have thought of, is GBCs. Yeah.
Yeah. On the other hand, this past year we've found some different ways to do collabs. I mean, Fab Max was certainly one where there was a movie involved with the mocks themselves.
Right.
Too. Baylug this year did a Dr. Seuss collaboration, and for the holidays we added onto it with some Whoville stuff, and it was very different. There was like life-size green eggs and ham. There were minifig scale things, and we all did videos so people could see it. And I'll actually drop a link in the chat. But it was unified because it was all Dr. Seuss, right? So, and that was the only limitation. With a physical display, you either have to just accept that it's going to be a big display with things that fit the theme, or more commonly, the modular aspect where things fit together, like modular buildings. Very often at cons, the collabs center around trains as well as cities.
Right.
Well, Baylog's beaches were modular, right?
The beaches were modular. I mean, that's just and that's part of, so we had our beaches, and then we had boardwalks, and then we had our regular modular buildings, kind of in a row. But we have the rules, and as Steve said in the chat, what you really need is a benevolent dictator who can arrange things, move things around, and just make sure that it comes together cohesively. But as Moto was saying, communication. You have to have regular meetings about what's happening.
I was going to say our Google Sheets always have train track clearly laid out, because if you build too close to the track too, they even have offset limits so the trains won't collide with whatever you're building. There's different types of track. Like they'll lay the 9-volt and then they'll show the other types of track. I don't understand it all. All I know is I need to stay away from the track whenever I'm building something.
Well, I think to me a really good example of collaborative build with parameters, but where people were allowed to do their own thing, was this group called TrickyBricks. They do really great train layouts, and city layouts.
They're amazing.
And the last one I saw of theirs was a Wizard of Oz build, and it was brilliant. And it was clearly they had mapped it out ahead of time.
It was large.
It was big.
It must have been like 16 by 24 feet or something. A circle of tables.
And then they
was it?
Somebody worked on it was very big, and somebody worked on the black and white portion, like the Kansas portion. Somebody else worked on Munchkin Land. Somebody else worked on the Witch's Castle.
The tornado. Someone did the tornado.
Somebody did the tornado. It was amazing. It spun around and had stuff in it, and it was really awesome.
Yeah, so I'd also assume the yellow brick road was continuous through each person's
Yes. So I
found the link. I'll drop it in the chat.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
And I don't know how much ahead of time you would have planned something like that out, but to me, that's almost like the starting point. And it makes me think of our very first challenge on Lego Masters, which was to build the theme park that already had the track running through the monorail, right?
Most monorail ever.
Yes. So we had to think about that, but I would think with a collab like that Wizard of Oz one, it would have been, at least the way I would have done it, is I would have created the big map, plotted out where everything was going to be, and then laid the road out and said, okay, here's your section. It's going to have the road here. Do your thing.
Do you think that's actually how it goes down? Because I haven't had much experience with collabs, but what little I have had seems like a little more clustery than that.
Yeah, I would say so.
What do you
I don't know. For our displays, the track is set and you cannot move it. It's non-negotiable. So if you pick a space in the table, you know exactly where that track's going to be, and you have to plan around it.
Yeah. Yeah, but within that, you've got say 2x10 base plate arena, and one person will say, oh, I'm going to bring this building that I made. It's 2 base plates wide. And someone else says, I'm going to bring these 4 buildings I made. They're each on a 16x16, but they all fit together because they're all minifig scale. That's a key component, is defining scale.
Yeah. Yep.
Whether you're going to be in scale or allow multiple scales. And so, yeah, I mean, our track is definitely very defined. You can't move the track around, obviously, but within the rest of the space, you lay out your city, your farm,
like within the circle of the track.
Exactly.
You know what this makes me think of time and time again is they all have all of these things, or most of them, that come together in a physical layout, have an input and an output. Whether it's the sidewalks in a modular building or Micropolis, whether it's GBC, whether it's a train layout or beaches, there's something like playing that. Well, at any rate, there's something which says that there's going to be an input this many studs from here and an output this many studs from here, and then they all work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have yet to have that experience, I guess, where it's
ours is
all delegated. Here's your space. It's like the only experience I've had so far is like you show up with your thing and somebody tries to find a spot for it.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's my experience as well. Like
Yeah.
I get kicked from the train area because I don't do modular buildings, but that's kind of associated is that you have to have a city along with the train.
Yeah.
And so the roads and everything, it's a bit more haphazard. Like people will show up and not necessarily it all flows together.
Yeah.
But it's semi-consistent. Whereas I do space stuff, so it's kind of like, okay, I guess we're gonna have a sci-fi table over here, Moto. Why don't you just take your stuff over there?
See, for me, and maybe it's just because I've directed a lot of theater over the years and like put together a lot of shows over the years. I want to I would want, if I was going to do a collab and be involved in something really extravagant, I would want it to be a little more defined and be like, yeah, here's your space. What are you going to build in that space? That sounds awesome. This person next to you is going to build that. Oh, well, maybe we could swap these around because that's going to look better like ahead of time, so that you ended up with just this beautifully cohesive giant piece of art. I think
yeah, you're right. And what I was trying to say is I'm the opposite. Mine is not collaborative because I bring my own pieces and I just kind of try to haphazardly piece together something. But within a collab, I did want to say the builders are like actors, okay? But you still need someone to do the writing. You need good writers, and you need a good director. So usually you have the director who is, laid out kind of. Well, first of all, promoted it and gotten the funding, right? So someone's always got to sell the collab and the theme to make people excited and want to join it. Because a lot of collabs can fail if you just throw out an idea, but you don't follow it up or, really sell it and work it and put in the time and diligence to coordinate and communicate and advertise it and do all those things necessary to get off the ground. But then you also have kind of what I call the scripters who are building the story and the narrative for people to kind of target and fit within to. Now with Wizard of Oz, maybe the story's set, or with Fab Max, the story was set. But you do need kind of a script that people are trying to follow, and then people kind of show up as actors and they're acting out that story and they're acting under the director, the direction of the director in a way to kind of pull it all together. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry.
And I really like Flynn's, that's interesting. I really like the idea of having it be very defined, but in reality, in our experience, or my experience, it has to be a little more fluid, because when you talk about something that's 6 months down the road, it's Lego. It's not, it's not a theater production, right? It's not,
Right.
and so it'll be like, well, I got it. There's 20 people working on their things. Someone's going to get a new job and won't have time to finish. Someone's not going to be able to get all the parts from Bricklink.
Exactly. Yeah.
Someone else is going to actually get really inspired and make 5 things than when they originally signed up for 1. And so it's being fluid enough to find a way to fit everything in, right, as much as possible when you're putting it together.
Which is what I mean by more clustery, because that's
of course. What I mean, you have to be flexible, obviously, with something like this. But I still think that the most successful collaborations that I have seen personally, and maybe it's just my personal taste, is where they obviously put forethought into it. Like Cactus Bricks' layouts are very well thought out, and everybody still did their part, and I'm sure that they had to make adjustments here and there when things changed or people had to do, but it was obviously incredibly well thought out and planned, and I really appreciated that about it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think that kind of collaboration works better with a smaller group of people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, definitely.
it's not as good for like a club collaboration, right?
Where no, definitely agree with that.
Well, it's great for 2 to 6 people or something, because the more people you get in, the more ideas you have, the more not friction.
Designed by committee, it gets
it gets a little crazy.
Well, unless you have a framework that plays into that really well. Our club,
right? Well,
or my lug did Hoth, and I'd have to say it was about 5 feet by 5 feet, an entire table with white, built up with a trench and another part. But no matter how many more people you added into there, there was always tons of Star Wars sets that set the scale. So realistically, you know, every Star Wars fan knows the Battle of Hoth. You know what the AT-AT scale is because the sets exist. You know what the little speeders are going to be because the sets are established. You know exactly what all those sets are and how they fit into the minifigure scale of, you know, Lego Star Wars. So that one was easy for everybody to bring all their stuff and place it down without having too much difference, because it was pretty much, you know, that theme through Lego itself had pretty much been set and established fairly well. So people falling into that, the Star Wars fans, it was very easy for them to line and really get a uniform, massive Hoth battle out there. With a couple of jokes, like we had a Hoth tub that was a hot tub with the snow guys in it or stuff like that. But for the most part, you know, you kind of knew what the Falcon would look like if it's parked or whatever. You know what I mean?
You know, we have an interesting challenge, but it can also, I think, free us up. Like there's, I don't think there needs to be one kind of unifying element for all different collaborations because they're all different, right? But I think there does need to be a unifying element so you recognize it and the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So a couple of things occur to me. One, we're not, for the time being, setting these on a table that people are going to walk around, right? We're presenting these virtually. So we might need different kinds of unifying factors than little things in the front, big things in the back. And if we agree on what that is going in, then there's a lot of room around it because, you know, you're showing this with your camera. So you get to show exactly what, you know, how you present it. And like that. And the other thing that occurred to me is that for me personally, the things that unified, like the Jurassic Park build being the landscaping, the harbor being that everything was on some level on water, you know, and even one where you had extremely different pieces, the apocalypse bunkers, where they were all unified by the fact that they fit into a cube of a particular size.
And that was a situation where like the haphazardness actually lent itself very well to the theme.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I mean, in the end, go ahead.
Oh, and what it occurs to me is there's someone in all of these things that came up with, and it doesn't have to be one person, a through line that unifies them. And if that, you know, in our case, I think it should mean there's something recognizable in all of the photos that, you know, is not the same thing, but goes with all the other things. You know, and then you have all this freedom outside just that simple framework.
Definitely.
Oh, man, we totally missed it.
I know. I was just going to say, and nobody even said anything.
Oh, wow. Everyone in the chat, you lost us too.
It is time, everybody, for the pause that refreshes. Yay! Slogan cookie time.
Come on, buddy.
Yay! Whoa, Baby Splashy's getting a reach.
Very exciting.
Wow,
Splishy is making...
is teething.
Splishy is making a new appearance. Yeah.
Yay, Logan. Let's give him a little... There we go.
Yeah, look at the camera. Say hi to everyone. Oh, he's wagging his tail.
Yay, Logan and Skittles.
I'd rather see you anyway. Oh, no, don't jump down. Just try and jump down. It's a treat. Yeah.
Yay, Skittles.
Here, we've just got crumbs left.
Oh.
Whoa, he's getting
all the crumbs.
He's getting all the crumbs. Wow. All right. Good boy, Bella. Good boy. Good boy. Yay. Logan cookie time, everyone. Here we go.
Baby Splashy.
Oh, multiple Splashies.
This is Splishy and this is Splashy. So Splishy can get a ride on top of Splashy.
Yay.
Oh, and they both have their upset or surprised faces too. So continuing the dual-faced concept. What? We had family of pet water.
Will Lectorth says that he has some news. Lego store in San Francisco now has a BAM menu. You can make a minifigure 3-pack again. You choose the pieces and we make it for you.
Nice.
Very nice.
Splishy.
That's what I've been doing up here too.
That's awesome. Very good. Sorry. So, yes. So we were talking about collaborations. Well, so what I was going to say is, I think, obviously, how much planning and forethought that you put into your layout or your collaboration really depends on what kind of collaboration you're doing, right? Like if you really for a micro city, you can pretty much say, okay, here's the micro city layout. That's the space you have. Go build, But with something more like their Wizard of Oz thing, a little bit more planning went into it. And I kind of want to go back to something that Wilfred said. He was saying that he'd rather see something where you can tell all the different styles of the builders rather than something that works together. I mean, I don't know that I won't say that I disagree, but I also feel like, and I'm sorry that I keep coming back to this, but it really was such a I feel like this Wizard of Oz one really represents the best of both worlds, because even though it was really planned out, you could absolutely tell the differences in building styles because each person chose a specific area that was very different. So obviously, like the black and white Kansas area guys, you could absolutely tell the difference in his style
from
Munchkinland, or the person that did the Witch's Castle. So like they all chose the things that were their strong suit, right? And worked on those particular parts.
Another collaboration that comes to mind that wasn't a layout where they all have to physically fit together was that one where now this was a small group,
mm-hmm.
but it would work with a larger group too. Several designers got together and built different scenes from the Harry Potter stories. So they each were given a story, and so you can have parts of a narrative and different builders build parts of that narrative, and they all go together because it's all the same story.
Yeah,
and I think those pieces were great, and
they were really
worked
fun.
really well together.
I guess it depends on the objective, right? Like, what is the objective of the collab? Is it just to do something together? In which case, if it's a social thing and you want to build something together where there's more back and forth, then obviously it's going to be more of a cohesive piece where everybody's not just parallel building, but you have to kind of coordinate where things are going to go and how they fit together and what they're cohesively going to look like. Or if the objective is just to make something really big, impressive, mock, basically, then everybody can kind of go off and just do parallel building, and you don't have to really coordinate as much. So I guess it just depends on why are you doing the collab? What's the purpose of it?
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I was trying to say, it seems to me like collabs come in some different flavors. One of them is the thematic consistency collab. So yeah, maybe Wizard of Oz, although when I looked at that one, everybody kind of had a rectangle and there was no transition between the rectangles, in the one I saw at least. But yeah, you can have a thematic collab that was more like Hoth, where everything kind of looked like it was one person put it together. Or you can have the physical parameters set, and then the theme can be anything, where that was more of like Holly said, the advantage of the bunkers was that the physical space was very much set, but each bunker could be radically different. But it was okay because it's set in a post-apocalyptic world where you wouldn't expect everything to be the same.
And that's one of the few collabs that I've actually participated in, because there was almost no excuse not to, because you could build basically what you just had the standard and you built whatever you wanted, and it almost could not be wrong, and it didn't take a whole lot of communication. So
and it was small. It was achievable, right?
Exactly. I did it. I think I did it during Bricks Cascade. It was.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Hey, look who's here. Mark Crookshank's here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hi,
right when we're talking about this.
Or if you talk about the micro scale city, that's another one where you can build anything you want within that footprint. And when you put it together, right, it gets arranged in such a way that you normally have the metropolis and it feeds out to the rural areas. But there's room enough for all sorts of weird architecture, because cities are not one architecture. You have something made in the 1880s, you have something made in the 1920s, you have something made in the 60s or 80s or 2000s or the future or beyond is, you do expect architecture to be this constantly evolving thing that occurs within a city. It's not just one type of architecture. So it kind of works,
It's funny. I feel with that one, it's almost like rather than a director, it needs a curator, like a
city planner,
right? Someone who then says,
degree,
Yeah,
how
and
does
I think
this all make sense?
That's the problem I kind of run into. I think is like I'm well aware that I'm a control freak, and so I'm a little hesitant to get on board with any sort of collabs, because if there's not already somebody clearly in charge and sort of like working out the planning and the delegating and having some sort of like direction, I'm going to end up wanting to take that role because I just can't operate without that. It doesn't have to be me, but if it's not there, then I'm going to have to do it, because I can't just aimlessly try to like guess and like, okay, I guess I'm going to do this thing, and I order the parts, and then I find out that somebody else has already started on it, and I just can't operate that way. But at the same time, I also can't deal with the like feeling of like I'm being bossy or I'm trying to like tell other people what to do either. So I'm like, maybe it's not for me.
Well, the Google Sheets. I'm sorry, you go.
No, I think that's where the pre-planning comes in. Where if you already know somebody, where you're like, okay, well, this is the spot, this is what we're making, this is our map. What does everybody want to work on? And you have that Google Sheets where you've plotted out like, okay, so-and-so, Flynn's making a haunted house. Well, then, somebody's already working on a haunted house. And so you're like, okay, well, then I'm going to build whatever I'm going to build. And I think those types of things like layouts and things work best when there's at least a little bit of guidance for people to know, so that exactly like Holly said, two people aren't working on the same thing. Like there's
that was critical for a Harry Potter collab, large display collab, where if one person said I'm doing the Whomping Willow, someone else isn't going to do that. If someone else has Hogwarts, someone else better not have a second Hogwarts.
Right.
Inevitably.
No, but it was definitely assigned to this is X person's delivering this piece here, and here. And
I think that can work for a virtual convention showing as well, so that you have a balanced presentation.
Yeah.
It could, but for our physical builds, like one person said, I signed up for this and I can't do it. What made it interesting, because it was Harry Potter, someone else said, I have a set that I can drop in that place. I got it covered. So even though it was all lock-oriented, you always had the backup of dropping a set in if that section didn't deliver, like in the next day or something, right?
So this, it's interesting. So this is also kind of leading to my other obsession right now. Big surprise.
With Mark here, I'd love to do
which one?
Doing a stack.
Which one? Exactly. Not WandaVision. That's a whole nother thing. No. So when we very first started in the hobby, I started looking around for inspiration. And like we talked about on our Greebling show this last week, like Luke Hutchison was a huge influence on our build style. And I found him on Eurobricks. And then I was like poking around Eurobricks, and there was, there's these people talking about the ages of Historica, and this build is from the guild of the something. And I was like, wow, that's cool. I have no idea what that all means, but that's cool. And then and then life happened, and Lego Masters happened, and the show happened. And I kind of, because of working at Brothers Brick, I still see builds like that saying this is from the guild of, this and that. And so, the other day, and I can't even remember how it came about, we were chatting about it on the Discord server, Albert Lee said, I know what it was. I was saying I was looking for inspiration, and I was having a very difficult time with building and all that sort of business. And hey, Alexander 23, how's it going? And David Wilkie and Miss Bricks of Fun, how's it going? A bunch of people dropping in. That's awesome. Sorry. So then Albert said, well, I'm involved with this like RPG style brick building game thing that happens on Eurobricks. And I was like, What? Because of course, like RPG, Lego, game, building,
All the
like all of
antennas.
like all of them, all of them went up. I was just like at 100% attention.
Oh, Brickworm too.
And hey, and Brickworm's here. How's it going? So he put up some links. So if you're on the Discord server, you can go into the What I'm Building channel, and Albert, and also in the gaming channel, and Albert did a great kind of rundown of what it is. And I still haven't completely wrapped my head around it entirely, so forgive me if my explanation is spotty. But essentially, it's like an RPG style game where there are different like factions or areas of an overall larger world. So like guilds of Historia or Historica is the one that they do, one of the ones they do on Eurobricks. There's like a Star Wars one and all of that. So basically you have like these various teams, and then the teams kind of amongst themselves create their part of whatever the world is. So in this guilds of Historica, there's like like an ocean, like seaside type world, and then there's the world that's like the part of the world map that's out in the desert, and that has a different style to the builds. And then there's one that's more like, one of them is like dark fantasy, like spooky witches castle.
Is this Lego
area.
Worlds of Warcraft?
I mean, kind of. But
or it even reminds me of like the Lego movie where they're going.
It reminds me of the Lego movie, like New Zealand.
Yeah.
Right, but a more cohesive, sort of like medieval style, overarching medieval style.
Yeah.
Right. So like fantasy setting. So not so much like Cloud Cuckoo Land and then Westerworld. It's not really like that. And then these groups, and some of them do it for points and some of them just do it for the fun of building, but it's a way to get groups of people together building within a theme. And you basically pick your sig fig, and that becomes your character in the story. And then you create your character's path in the story, and your character's path will probably intersect with other people's characters and paths. And then eventually, I think the factions sometimes have battles, and then they create these like battle scenes. But this is all done on a forum. It's not a collaboration that happens together. And a lot of it is, not only is it just a fun game, but it's a way for people to be encouraged to build. It's something that they're interested in. And there's a large component of people giving each other feedback and constructive criticism about their builds.
So that's a very long-term collaboration.
Yeah, it's more like a long. I mean, this has been going on for years. And the fun part about it is, though, they create then, amongst all those builders, a larger story, right, that overarches the whole thing. And
I want to know who all the NPCs are.
I know. I mean, I find it fascinating personally, and I know part of it is because of my D&D thing, but it just sounds like such a fun way to work on a collaboration that doesn't have to be put on a table. So it's almost like collaborations within collaborations.
Yeah.
In a way.
I like the idea of that too, because like, again, another hurdle for me to have to jump with getting on board with the collaboration is the obligation and the commitment. And as everyone knows, I have commitment issues. And so I would be reluctant to, like,
just saying,
because once you sign up and people are expecting something from you, then you're obligated. So that gets scary.
That's right.
Well, I like with I do this with family members who I want to communicate with more. I set up a guilt-free collaboration there. I say, let's just feel good about when we do talk and not feel guilty about the times in between.
Yeah.
Like we could have a guilt-free collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it super. I find it super fascinating, and what an interesting way. And some people are bringing up in the chat that is kind of like what's happening with Super Sewer Baby, with Sir Meltalot, like people getting on board and creating their characters and their stories. And I love that. I think it's great, and I want to check out more of the stuff that's happening on Eurobricks, because it seems just really cool. And I'm also gotta say, the quality of the builds that come out of these things are mind-boggling, y'all. I mean, just like they are super dedicated. And I know that the guilds of historic, I'm sorry, I'm probably saying it wrong, but whatever, that particular one has some of the best castle builders in the game.
Yeah, and that is one thing a collab will do for you, is like it will make you like step it up, because everybody's like wanting, not necessarily to prove something, but you don't want to be the weakest link in the chain. So.
Yeah. Something that I think would be cool and maybe very helpful too is, in addition to presenting the idea and then having a due date where everyone shows their thing, have kind of a midway sort of thing, like almost a workshopping of it where people can share their progress. And I think that would also post that meeting, like if everyone saw what everyone else was working on, it would probably weave the piece together a little more too, because people would respond to what they've seen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I was doing last week. Is I'd never built a building before, so that, like I said, I built this on Mills. So at some point when we do a show, I'll finally be able to incorporate something into the group build.
Oh yeah, that's so good. I love that thing. Oh,
yeah,
my
this
goodness.
is one corner of it, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But you can see where I've pinned it all in, and it is built on that 16 by 16 standard. That's the attempt. Is I'd love to. I just have never contributed to the lug city layout, and so now I figured I've never done that before, so why not? And I'll have to build a train now at some point. It's just kind of the things I need to check off the list.
Well, and also though, I gotta say, kind of just back to this game idea. One of the things that I like about it, I know that we tend to steer away from competition on the on our show. Like when we do our challenges and stuff, it tends to just be like a, hey, build whatever you want, and we're gonna, and we'll talk about it. What I do like in this game thing is there are actually some versions of it where there are points given, and there are, there is a faction or a group that comes out on top, having so many best builds or whatever in a row. And I think that while that's not something that I want to incorporate into our build challenges, I do think, and this goes back to what Holly, you were just saying, is I do think that a little bit of healthy competition helps propel you to build better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I look at it as healthy inspiration. I like picking up all the little tips and styling things from all the stuff that I see every Friday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that we talk a lot about the gamification of things.
Look what Wilfred just posted.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right. Well, I mean, I'll just say that, like, I noticed that when we did, like when we were first doing build challenges, we did like a couple of build challenges, and then we gave away the Batmobile, and there was a difference in the level of, I know part of it was because there was a prize, but I mean that competition aspect, I think, drove people to build more complicated things than they might have otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to another discussion we were having much earlier, where what inspires you to build. So some people are inspired to build by the convention itself. That unless there's an event, they're probably not going to build, or unless there's an event that actually has awards, they're not going to build to a higher level, attempting to get that major award for whatever theme is given away at that convention. Because to me, it's quite foreign. Like every time I've ever displayed, there's never been an award, and there's never been a convention where they give out awards, nor are you expected to contribute to any certain level. So I've always just been I always build them, and whatever I put together, I like to display, and I like people to look at it. I mean, that's cool, but I've never been to one of these things like Chicago or Bricks Cascades or LA, or you take your pick of the convention where they actually do hand out awards by theme or by people's choice, whatever this stuff is. But I do think it attracts that competitive spirit. There are people who do build because they're incentivized by these things. And that's great.
I think it's so funny because I think for me, like the awards do like nothing for me as far as motivation. Like I've honestly forgotten about the awards. I think every convention I've ever been to, like for me, I think the motivation is like, now granted, you know, for a full year and a half at least, every convention was me like pitching the Coraline house, but I think that sort of set the tone for me because of like what kept me motivated was that it was essentially a conversation piece. And so now that's kind of my motivation for building is like I want to build a conversation piece that's like, you know, what is that or what is it about or like why did you do it that way or something like that. It's like I'm going to build something that's like interesting to talk about, not necessarily like the most impressive thing.
Right.
You know,
so maybe I'll never be a good builder. I don't know.
Oh my
no.
gosh. Give me a break.
Oh, Holly, stop your pity party.
And that's okay. That's okay.
You know, just briefly, we've won some awards and it felt really good. And I want to say, like, we never built for the award. What I wanted to do was impress other people at the convention and specifically other builders at the convention. I wanted other builders whose stuff I thought was cool to be like, wow, you built this thing and it's so cool. And, you know, getting the award is on one level of validation that people thought your stuff was cool. It's not like, you know, we're going to get, you know, rich from winning an award at a convention.
Right.
But if other builders think your stuff is cool, that's awesome.
It definitely means you should keep building, right?
Right.
Well, I have to
good
say,
feedback.
like when we won our first trophy, when we did California Dreamin', like the recognition, well, especially because it was our, you know, we were only a year into the hobby at that point.
And we built alone in our dining room. We had no idea whether it was any good or, you know,
But it
if anyone would
definitely,
like it.
it definitely inspired me to work harder to be better because I felt like I had something to, like that a bar had been set that, you know, and that I wanted to be able to like reach that bar and go beyond it.
I will say
No.
this: everything you guys build together is a collaboration by its nature, and I think that's why your pieces are so incredibly strong.
Exactly. Well, and thank you. And
Thanks,
and
Moto.
that is actually, that's
I was just trying to
interesting.
tie it back in, right?
Well,
No,
we
true.
make much better stuff together than I would make by myself. There's the parts of our collaboration that Flynn does are things that I'm not as good at or not as interested in. So, you know, so we sort of double our skill set and we challenge each other too, right? Like I've definitely thought like, oh, what I made totally sucks and what you made was awesome. That's not cool, but it inspires me to like make a cooler thing too.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. The nature of collaboration, you can go from very highly collaborative, which on my spectrum is you guys coming together and building Snake Queen or California Dream or something like that, where you literally are compositing your building techniques into a unified product.
Right.
Like the Lego Masters thing, where there is a team and you cannot separate the building from the builders. It has to be combined. All the way to the most loosely coupled of stuff, which is where you do have this kind of open-ended narrative with very few other parameters. So it could be any style, you could bring any character into it, as long as it sort of fits a loose sort of understanding of what it is that you're going for. And then somewhere in the middle is, you know, the mapped out thing where people are building separate entities, but they are highly planned and do have to physically, you know, match in the transitions. Like what Builds forces you to do in some respects. So
a lot of our I think a lot of our build challenges are loose collaborations.
well,
People build wildly different stuff, but they're always associated around a theme.
They're associated around a theme where that's probably one of the looser definitions, and I think that's great. It's one of the again, there's something I love about the creative process with other people, and you know, that can sometimes be frustrating, and it can also be but more often than not, I feel it can be extremely rewarding. You know, in our stuff together, it's funny because even though we do build on a lot of the same things, like there were definitely, like, I'll use California Dreamin' as an example. It was like, you know, because it was a train layout, there was definitely things where we kind of laid out a map ahead of time and said, okay, this is where this part is, and this is where this part is, and there were this, and then we divided up the list. And we're like, okay,
I did the Redwood Forest, he did.
I'm going to work on Hollywood. Okay,
and we came together on a mountain.
Right, and then there were certain ones that we would build together. But so I think there were multiple versions of the collaborative process that went around in that. So
I would say that it is rare to find that type of, I'd say, highly integrated collaboration where the builders are physically putting together the model all in the same space at the same time, rather than just bringing things and having them try to coheve.
Yeah.
You know, looking in the future, I think that's really powerful. I'm just going to, I'm thinking like 10 years, the Zacardis are going to be a beast because they've got how many hands? I mean, how many hands do you got into that build, right?
They're like the Partridge Family of Lego.
It'd be like a, Rocktopus, or even more than 8 hands in there. So, I think it's really cool.
Rocktopus.
Well, I don't know. I think that one of the great things about, and you see it like in the challenge builds, is seeing other people's stuff in that same theme gives you so many ideas. You're like, oh man, I never would have thought of that. Like, what a cool way to approach the subject, or like, what a cool. And I think it's one of my favorite parts of our show. So one thing that came to mind is the loosest definition of a collaboration would be the Peace Day build challenge. So it's literally like, here's a hashtag. You have to use the same number of pieces for what day it is. Show us what you got. And it's not necessarily a physical convention, but it is something that, like, on day one, you're going to see one piece and the story of everybody's putting together, or two. But as the pieces grow, you start to see this great divergence. Even at the small piece limit, it was really wonderful to see someone from someone from my lug doing their thing compared to Jake, compared to Boone. I mean, it was radically different styles and stories and narratives, but somehow it was fun to see every day that different interpretation and how it was playing out over time. Yeah. Right? But that was kind of the loosest, I'd say the loosest amount of rule setting on what could have been like a virtual collaboration.
But the one rule was very clear.
Oh yeah, it's exceptionally clear, right? You have to put the number of pieces for what day it is. Nothing can be simple.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing, and I think it's just morphed so much in the last year about like what we can expect from a collaboration. And I don't know, it's certainly, I think besides, the stuff that Richard and I have done together, the Ewok Adventureland was the first time we'd ever really like done a focused collaboration with someone else. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. And I loved like not only working on our part of it, but when I saw the whole thing come together, it was just the most thrilling.
It was pretty rad.
Well, remember, I'll say this: I'm warming up to the idea of doing one because I've never done one.
It's funny. We had a very particular part of it. We were doing the sign that was over the top, but it was supposed to be in the same style. And we had about halfway through our build process, and Flynn had been sending in photos to Boone to make sure we were kind of on the same page. We had a video meeting about halfway through where we shared what we had, and he commented on it and sort of made some corrections and said, well, why don't we go more this direction and feature more of this and less of that? And it was hugely helpful. For one, we realized that when he was talking about,
We didn't realize that till we got there, but
well, what was that?
he said,
the
okay,
size
and
base
here's
plates.
and here's a thing, and this is why it's important if you're doing a collaboration like that to make sure everybody's on the same page. He said base plate. So we thought 32 by 32, but he meant the larger gray one.
48s?
He said, yeah, because our sign had to support on 2 posts, right? And so we had to determine within a stud, you know, the width of what was going to fit on his model.
Well, and it's actually good that we did make that mistake, because I can only imagine how big that sign would have ended up if we had gone. It ended up being the perfect size, like it worked out.
It does.
But I just I don't know.
Clear communication during the process, I think, is really and
you
know
know,
what?
it sounds like also you got good art direction.
Well, so
to make sure it didn't fly off the rails in any one aspect, right?
Right. Well, so that's the thing. Like, and that was what's great about having a good somebody with a vision. Boone had the vision. Like, he knew what he had in mind, and he was able to express that to us, and yet still give us our freedom to do whatever we wanted. And again, that comes back down to those parameters. Like, when you say, like, it didn't have to be super specific, but when you say amusement park made from the parts of old Star Wars spaceships, I mean, that pretty much says it all right there, right? Like, that's like, you don't have to, you know, and then throw Ewa, you know, and on Endor, and then you've got kind of all of the pieces that you need are right there in front of you. And it didn't, and while it was specific, and while he had a vision, we still had plenty of space to do our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important part if you're going to be somebody who wants to head up a collaboration like that, is really being able to not be so focused on your vision that you don't give your other collaborator builders an opportunity to express themselves the way.
Well, that's why you're collaborating, is you expect them to deliver their talent to where you can't do it in the first place. So if you're going amiss of that, you're probably not really in the right mind space to be doing that, right?
Yeah, I forgot that's another you know, possible or potential reason for collaborating too, is just, you know, just to offload some of the work too. Like, if your vision is so big and it's more than you know you can build yourself in a reasonable amount of time, then maybe that's the time to call for reinforcements and see if other people would be interested in helping out, you know?
Right.
Well, especially if you know someone who's really good at something that you've never done or not good at all. I mean,
although I do, and I have run into this problem too, where there's been a couple of times that I've asked, you know, I've kind of pitched the idea of collaborating on something, and then those people have just taken off with the idea and did it themselves. And so I think that's another reason I'm a little more hesitant to even consider collabs. Like, I'm definitely not anti-collabs, but I've just been burned a couple of times, and so now it's like I don't really even think about them anymore. It's like, I'll just sit here in my corner and build quietly by myself. It's fine.
Yeah, if I were going to do a collaboration, one thing is, especially coming from the cybersecurity sector, is you want to be highly non-specific. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you have like a Lego ideas idea, you would want to generally talk about the general theme, but you never want to center on what you're going to deliver, because otherwise someone will steal that IP.
Yeah.
So, like, we're constantly talking about what we do, but we talk about what we do in a very general sense. We never get to the atomic detail of what's really going on.
Yeah, I've learned to be very secretive about anything I'm working on, just because it's like I've just seen so much like shenanigans of things happening.
But that's why I like the general idea of a theme or a driving narrative or something like, you know, Ewok Adventureland is very general. Well, whereas you don't want to say, hey, would you collaborate with me on building the 1952 Ford X-150 from this specific thing where this thing happened with this specific mechanism that's going to make it amazing.
But at a certain point, I mean, you know, some things are just, and usually like the couple of times that it's happened, it's because I know that somebody has that common interest. You know, it would be like me, you know, not obviously Flynn would never do this, but it'd be like basically me going to Flynn and saying, hey, I have this really like interesting, you know, vision for like a D&D build, and would you be interested in, you know, helping me out with it? And then he goes off and just builds a D&D thing. It's like, you know, like at that point you're like, what do you, I mean, it was just an idea. You don't own it. It's something he was interested in as well. So you can't really like ding him for wanting to build, you know, for wanting to go ahead and build it. And, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I guess you didn't want to collab. That's fine.
Well, but I mean, I think that's also too, there has to be a level of trust between builders.
Yeah, which
Like,
that's the part that I've learned kind of the hard way, is like, maybe just don't mention things to people unless you're like pretty certain that they're going to want to like do something with you. And like, I've also, yeah, I've also kicked the habit of like telling people about things that I want to build, because it just plants that seed, and some people don't even know where they get the ideas. You know, it's like, you just, at some point they build that thing and you remember having that conversation, but they might remember it completely differently, or they don't remember the conversation at all. And, you know, they could have gotten their inspiration also from something else. And it's just like, okay, so just don't mention it unless you're like done building something and you don't want somebody else to, you know, take that idea. Just don't talk about it.
well, I guess it's so funny. I guess I just have an inherent, maybe too much trust in people. Like,
Probably.
I don't,
Well, you know what you, I think what I've observed about you is that you, if you'll,
oh, watch out.
I mean,
everybody.
let's forget that things like sarcasm exist in the world for a second. And I'm just going to say that
Sure, we'll try that.
I'm just going to say, Flynn, that you have a childlike wonder about you, about projects, and you get very exciting, and you get very excited, and your excitement about it inspires other people, so that you're magnetic about projects. And then when people come to you, they're already on board with it, as opposed to you saying, please, you know, come on, anyone. You know, I think you draw people to it, and I feel like, you know, a collaboration where people say, that's exciting, I want to do that. You know, like the Apocalypse Bunkers draws people who are already committed and not, you know, like, I'm going to take your idea.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. There is a salesmanship and there is a leadership component to the way that you get people excited about doing whatever it is you want to do. So the wrong way to go at it is blindly just going up to a stranger and saying, hey, I have this collaboration, participate.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to go up to us. I wouldn't think anybody would go up to any stranger.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean,
ask.
just to some person that you have no
That would be
relationship with whatsoever, and then blindly saying, I've got this thing, go ahead and, you know, do it, please. Whereas there is more of a way of, first of all, maybe providing some sense of understanding of what that person's skill set is, and understanding that's a good fit before you propose it.
Well, that was so in one situation where I was asking to collaborate is because the person I was asking had like crazy technic skills, like was really good at, you know, doing the technic stuff, and the idea that I had was very technic centric. And I knew that it was a common interest, and he was the only other person I knew that had the same interest. And that's like why it was one of those things that I was like, oh, that would be like a really cool collaboration, because I could learn how to do some of this technic stuff from him. And I know it's something he's really, really interested in. And I just saw it as being like something really fun to do with somebody. And then when I mentioned it to him, it's like, he didn't really he just was kind of like, oh yeah. And he kind of spit off some ideas of like, oh, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do that. And then like, I didn't hear back from him. And the next thing I know, he just started posting like pictures.
Right.
And I was like,
No,
okay, well, that's not how I was expecting that to go. But
that's a bummer on the partnership. But I mean, going back to the collaboration part, the other part is, I mean, for large chunks of people, you know, you kind of also have to be, you know, a figure people trust. And I think people inherently trust you guys. I think also that a lot of people understand where you're coming from, and it's good natured. So there is that, there you go, trust. So there, you know, there has to be, you know, if you're going to be leading a collaboration, there has to be that implicit sense of trust, familiarity, but also that leadership and understanding but also, understanding the person has a track record of experience, of once again, not having an ego, having humility, having those soft strengths that we always look for someone we want to collaborate with. So that's what I'm saying. I'm starting to get more and more requests of, I have an idea, why don't you do this? Like, that's a great idea for you. You kind of don't understand what kind of builder I am, because that was a really bad fit. I don't say that. Or just the random out of the blue message of, I'm getting more and more of, hey, I'm going to have this meeting and we're going to do this type of thing. Are you interested? And it's probably something that doesn't even match, or match the material I tend to put together. So, I tend to think of successful collaborations as having the soft skill side that's far beyond just setting the parameters, setting the story, setting the narrative. There is a lot to be said of the person who's behind it, and whether they're thoughtful and have done the the research and experience and gotten to know the audience as well. Because you're asking a huge favor. You're asking for people's time. Time is the most valuable resource in anybody's life, because we don't live forever.
Well, I want to say there's also a certain level of knowing what you can handle before you agree to be part of something.
Exactly.
And I mean and when I say that, I mean, yes, I like, I've been a director. I like heading up projects, and I love having a vision and getting people to join me in that vision. Like, that's just something that I love as an artist. And it was very clear from the beginning that Boone was the visionary behind the Ewok Adventureland. And I was, and I knew that us getting involved in it meant that we would be, I don't want to say answering to Boone, but essentially answering to Boone about going to him and saying, hey, these are the ideas we have. This is what we want to do.
We were supporting his vision.
We were supporting his vision. And I do believe that takes a very, that takes a certain part of you as a builder to be able to kind of give over yourself to somebody else's vision. And it doesn't mean that you have to change your style. I don't think that we changed our style of building to do Boone's project. I think that he knew that our style of building would suit it, and we were able to adjust to fit.
But what I said is you trusted him, and he was a benevolent overlord in return. There is a relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
But you brought it up. So there is a couple mistakes that I do see within collaborations, at least from folks who are trying it for the first time. So tell me if you've heard of this story. You have a collaboration. Someone is trying it for the first time. They say, I got this. And a couple weeks go by and they're making good progress. But then all of a sudden, halfway through, they stop and they say, hey, you know what? Does anybody have these pieces? I'm trying to put this together. It turns out Bricklink takes a week and a half to deliver, and the deadline's in a week.
Oh.
So to me, that's another thing of, if you're going to get in a collaboration, make sure.
I would totally do that, by the way.
Yeah, make sure you've done some of that timing and you understand the scale of what you're getting into, and you understand your inventory, because we all have grand aspirations, but sometimes it's better on the first time to try to build to half or commit to half of that, just because I've seen it happen time and time again where we all get inspired, and then before you realize it, you've run out of that particular color, or especially if you sort by type only, you don't have a good idea of your color inventory, and you run low on something, and all of a sudden you can't Bricklink it fast enough by the deadline. So
it's funny. I'm actually it's crazy that I'm such a planner. I do plan things, and I kind of have to plan everything before I do it, generally speaking, but still a major procrastinator. So it's like the best laid plans, and then you get toward into the crunch time, and there's situations where, for me anyway, it's like I'm really doing the bulk of my work at crunch time, because I just am not motivated until I have that crushing deadline hanging over me. And sometimes I'll design things, and then when I get in there into building it, I redesign. I've been known to redesign things until 5 a.m. convention day morning.
You're not the only one.
I know, and I know, and so there are those things where, like, yes, I'm going to be the one that's guilty of, like, does anybody have these pieces? Like, I think even at Bricks Cascade, I was still looking for. I think I had customized a couple more minifigs for my Coraline house the night before the convention, and I was going around the convention center asking if anybody had these very specific arms, and I was able to find them. But that's actually also kind of the fun part of it. Like, it becomes the scavenger hunt. And I've put those requests out to the Portlug like email list of
I would be
like dozens of messages where people are like scrambling trying to find those parts, and I feel like everybody kind of has some fun with it. And granted, that's not a collaboration. I would be much more embarrassed if people were like counting on me for something, but like just knowing how I am, I would be that guy.
Yeah, I would have imploded under the pressure, but I just want to say, kind of, at least get a general sense of, do a couple of mocks as if you were part of a collab with a time limit and a partner, a size in mind, and just time yourself. And if you do miss the deadline, at least it's just on you the first couple times.
Yeah.
But with that experience, not being on an official clock, but, a self-imposed deadline, just wait until you're comfortable with what you can consistently deliver by a deadline. And missing a couple pieces here and there in a lug is not a big deal. I've run parts out to people's houses before.
Oh, yeah.
But saying, I'm 48 short of this particular element.
Oh, whoops.
You've made a miscalculation.
Fatal error.
Or something like that. Yeah, now thankfully I got a brick pit and I can pull that amount. But that, I want to say that amount of assistance is pretty rare. So you might have to
TrickyBricks, how's it going?
Yeah.
I love that
Fantastic.
TrickyBricks. Oh man,
I know who that is. Hi.
There's something
that is a great name.
There's something that I've seen in the dance community. I've done a lot of lighting for dance, so I go to lots of rehearsals and see the entire process. And one of the places that I worked with had a process where choreographers workshopped their pieces, and they would do a work in progress showing. It was called a whip, right? And they would do 2 of these during the progress of their project. And they had a very formal, and it seems artificial at first, but they had a very formal process by where it was safe for the artist to share their work. They had a 3-step, there may be more steps, but I'm remembering 3 right now, 3-step process. 1, one was compliments, talk about, everyone go around and talk about what they liked about your work. And then the second part is, are you open to criticism about your work? Yes, I am, or no, I'm not. And if you are, then we go around and everyone says, well, I think it would be cool if you did this, or I think I was confused when you did this. And then the final one was, are you open to suggestions for your work? Well, we think maybe you could add a hot air balloon. And so it meant
there's a story behind that one.
Never gonna let that go.
What it meant was that people felt safe to show work that wasn't finished because they got to set the level of feedback that they got. And it made for this trust with people who otherwise would never show things unless they were satisfied it was completely finished.
That reminds me of a thing we do in our industry, which is agile development, which means you develop and deliver along the way. So there's something to always demonstrate every 2 weeks. And that's something that I like to build with too, is I always want to have some component of the build. It doesn't have to be the complete part of it, but some component is always built and delivered, at least the framing of it in chunks, so that it's almost like I'm certifying it along the way. So by the time I get close to the deadline, it's not a mad rush to make sure everything comes together perfectly. It's already mostly certified, and I can take a couple risks here and there, but I know it's just not going to collapse or fall apart.
Well, it also means you get to test the waters.
But also with a collab, that'd be a great thing, is incremental delivery of, showing kind of the progress and how it's fitting together, so you can make these adjustments. Because the most amount of effort at the worst amount of time is at the last minute, when you realize you've gotten something significantly wrong that's going to take you a long time to refactor.
Well, I think you bring up an interesting point, because I think feedback is, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword, because of course, but having done theater since elementary school, and then when I got into high school theater, my director was very, he was like, you have to have a bit of a tough skin. Like, I'm going to tell you if you're doing something that I don't like, or that you need to change something, or that it's confusing. So we got very used to taking, it was always constructive.
Constructive is the key word. Constructive.
Exactly. It was always constructive criticism, but it was nonetheless like I got used to taking feedback on my work at an early age. And not a lot of people are used to that. I'm not saying that I love it every time.
But some people really do appreciate it, because there's really not a lot of it in the Lego community. Like, I know there was one post that I saw kind of recently that somebody made that on Instagram that was really beautiful. They did a scene from Lord of the Rings that's like one of my like absolute favorite film shots ever. It's like where Gandalf, it's like before the battle of Minas Tirith, where he's like sitting in the alleyway, and there's just this, it's really all about the lighting. The lighting is what makes this shot so beautiful. And so I was looking at his build and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And I was like, it's so close. Like, and I gave him a couple of tips of just moving the lighting so that things were more prominent, like there was a more prominent silhouette of Gandalf, and like just a couple of tips of like, maybe just if it's possible to adjust the lighting here and here, it's going to be dead on. And of course, there was like, thousands of comments of just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And he actually responded to that comment like, wow, I so appreciate something other than just looks great,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I
think
don't.
it's important. I will say this. I think you were fortunate. Now, did he specifically ask for commentary? Or did he just post it?
I don't think so, but he did post a little, I'm trying to remember if the original post had a little bit of the breakdown of maybe how he was doing the photography or the lighting or something. And so it definitely seemed like a comment it seemed like a post that lent itself well to like conversation, at least, not
right. Opening a dialogue.
Which I'm not going to keep my mouth shut anyway. I just couldn't resist thinking like this would be absolutely perfect with just these few little fixes. And he didn't have to do it. It was just like a suggestion, but he took it, ran with it, did it, and then he reposted again, and it was like perfect. It was beautiful.
Hey, Lego Cat Creator, how's it going?
With Flynn, with what you said, there is one rare piece of advice I do have. One is, and this took a long time for me to kind of get there, because I went through art school, and you get the critiques along the way and all that. You need a thick skin. To me, it comes down to you have to have enough humility to be able to say yes to what someone's saying. And you have to have enough confidence to say no to what someone is saying. It's between those two ends. In other words, you're always going to get feedback and you're always going to get suggestions, but you have to balance the humility of understanding when something is a good suggestion that's going to fit and make it better. But you also have to have the confidence to know when someone's recommendation is not a good match.
Yeah, or sometimes it's just not even possible, sometimes,
or not possible, or not relevant, or whatever you want to call it, or not in the right spirit, or whatever you want to call it. But there is that balance between being open and having humility with having the confidence to stand your ground.
Hey, Grievling Wizard, how's it going? Hey, well, I think it's sorry, I've lost my train of thought. I got distracted. Yes,
it'll come back. I have a question for you, Kara. In the last year or so, I haven't personally taken part in as many collaborative pieces with Baylug, and I know that you have. And so you've seen a number of them between the beaches and the holiday layouts and Dr. Seuss. What were the elements that you thought helped those collaborations the most? That were really successful.
Yeah. So primary thing is having a core group of leaders. It can be one person who's sort of directing, or it can be 3 or 4 people who are really like kind of focused on making it work, and the other people just come in as they will. But having some sort of leadership to just keep the direction and the guidance on the path and not to stray from it. Communication is extremely key. So having regular meetings, taking minutes, having documentation so that when people ask, what is our build standard, or how do you build that beach standard plate? So it's going to be 7 to 9 studs of water, and then slowly building up to sand. But here are the guidelines. Here's the drawing or the render that you can follow, and just make it your own at that point. So communication, leadership, documentation, and deciding on a standard. And standard, by that I mean, going back to like the beginning of our conversation here, is it going to be on mills? Is it going to be a modular base plate Lego standard? Is it going to be just thematic and you can build anything you want to that theme? And then having people document what they're making, how big it is. So like, I can bring 5 of these mills base plates, and 2 will be populated, and the other 3 will just be available for anybody to put things on top of if you need it. Just so everybody knows what's coming to the display, what's going to be available, because not everyone has a whole bunch of trees and foliage. So it's great that we have one member who consistently brings, he's got this giant box of trees and foliage, and he brings it all the time, and it's great. And our club has things like that too. So, I just got a few months ago, I got the Lego Duplo, basically a giant box of Duplo animals. It's an education set, but it's got animals from all over the world. It's super cool. And so I've offered that up. So we're doing a jungle collab this year, and I've offered up whatever is in that box that is jungly, or we were going to do a forest after the jungle, because if we were going to have a redwood forest, and there are bears in here and squirrels, and so I can bring this box of animals, and people know that they use my box to populate it. So just having that dictionary of what's available, having people document what they do, and having that point person or that point committee to always be someone to go to, someone to ask questions of, is so important.
I think that's all applicable virtually too, right? Like if there's someone who is really excited about landscaping and you're doing some kind of even virtual collaboration where some things are going to be more buildings and some more landscape, you can rely on them to make, a bunch of landscape stuff.
So, sorry, I did remember what I was going to say before. Sorry for going back a second. But in terms of like feedback, I think it's really easy, especially when in a collaboration, is we're all working in a vacuum. Like we're working in our own spot. And what might seem really obvious to me, because I've had my head in the model for the past, 36 hours, and I feel like, oh, of course I understand that X piece represents blah, blah, blah. Because I've been working on it. But I may show that to Moto or Holly or Kara, and they may all have different interpretations of what that means, or they may not even think it means anything, that it's just another part of the build. So getting that outside perspective, I think, and it doesn't mean that you have to take the advice, but I'm just saying, like, knowing, like, is this coming across? Again, I'm sorry to keep bringing it back to theater, but it really is the same thing. It's like when you're doing a comedy, when you're doing a comedy on stage, there comes a certain point in your rehearsal process where you're like, I don't even know if these jokes are funny anymore because I've said them so many times and I've done the bit that we all laughed at rehearsal 1, but it's 4 weeks down the road and I've done it so many times I don't even know that it's like necessary to do it in front of an audience, even if it's only 5 people coming in. So you understand, like, is what I'm trying to put across coming across.
What really resonated with me was something someone posted recently of a little comic strip where the guy's like looking at his art, a piece of his art, and he's like, wow, this is great. And then it's a couple more frames of him just looking at his art. And then the last frame is like, this is crap.
That's me and everything I've ever built.
Everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was going to say, Flynn, that it's great to have a review because, like every 5-year-old who hands their drawing to their parent will sometimes go, "That's a great dog," and the kid goes, "That's a cat." You're completely wrong.
Exactly.
But no, you do.
Well, we had that happen with a build submission. Please help remind me of who built this if you can. But it was this beautiful translucent piece, and they had mentioned in the description that it was lit from the inside. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, that looks really great. And I was thinking the lighting.
Oh yeah, then you transitioned and the lighting was turned on. Yeah.
Yeah, the lighting is super
know.
subtle. I'm very impressed with how well it melts with everything else. And then I saw it turned on.
Yeah, so, oops.
But no, that does happen. I mean, that's the representative nature of Legos. Sometimes you do see something and you have this intent, but it's not going to.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where I've looked at something and just to ask, like, what am I looking at?
Right.
It's upside down.
Yeah.
So, my goodness. Well, I just realized we've hit the 2-hour mark, so probably should wrap it up. But what a great subject to
Mountain Dew bottle. Thank you, Siegfried.
What a great subject to hear from everybody's takes on it, because there really are so many different types of collabs and different takes on them, and what it is you feel comfortable with. Do you feel comfortable just making your own thing and dropping it into a grid of a bunch of other things, or do you feel comfortable taking somebody else's vision and becoming a part of it, or do you just want to, be told the theme is space, do your own thing, whatever? So,
are you offering that?
I think it's really they're interesting things to look at. What's that?
Moto? I said, you're doing space?
You got to be careful. You got to be careful when you say space.
Did you say
Moto? I actually, in the end, it didn't work out, and I'm committed that when we have another in-person convention again, I want to try this again. But I noticed that the people who made spaceships didn't have a very impressive way, I thought, to display their spaceships. So I let people know at the convention that I would have a way for them to all hang their spaceships. And I brought a pipe and base structure so that over the table, anything that was, swooshable enough and people wanted to suspend it could suspend it over their, over the table. Of course, the limitation was I wasn't willing to hang anyone's spaceship because I don't want to be the one who drops their spaceship.
Well, I was going to say,
gravity.
At what weight have you certified that it won't tip over?
Exactly.
Well,
it's not Moto weight approved.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it's one of those Harbor Freight hanging engine, you're ripping an engine out of a car, then I'll trust you. But
yeah, it was over-engineered.
Anyway.
So all that said, like I said, we are going to be announcing some Tricky Lug collaborations coming up here within the next week that we're going to be doing for conventions. So I'm really glad we had this conversation, and I think it's going to be interesting moving forward to see how collaborations within the group may change from when we go from online to actually being back in person again. There's all kinds of opportunities. So, well, thanks everybody for an awesome discussion, and thanks to everybody out there in TV land for hanging out today. I always love that. Sorry, can you tell? WandaVision. Thanks everybody out there in TV land for joining us today. And we do, by the way, we do have a Discord server, which is specifically for AFOLs right now, but we're looking at that possibly being able to have some of our younger builders join us. Although 13 is the rule for
Discord.
Discord, thank you. So I'm like Twitch, Discord, YouTube, Instagram, like it was suddenly cycling through all of the things. So if you're interested in doing some of the stuff we're talking about and interested in Tricky Lug meetings, you can join the Discord server. You can also reach out to Minifig Chick to get invitations to any Tricky Lug meetings that are coming up, that sort of thing.
And also just to be on the mailing list so that you know what we're doing, what we're working on. We're probably going to have a vote soon as to a collaborative build. So email trickylug@gmail.com or minifigchick@gmail.com. Either one is fine.
Yeah. So but be on the lookout because we are going to do that. I am actually going to be looking a little bit deeper into this like game thing that I was talking about from TrickyBricks because it just seems so fascinating. And I have gotten some people that said they would be interested in joining and helping out. So that could be exciting. It may start off small. We'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely take a look over at what we're doing over there. It'll keep you up. We will be back. It'll keep you up to date, not up at night, hopefully. So what's going on over there? I must know.
We'll be back on Wednesday.
We'll be back on Wednesday at 10 a.m. With a show, and I will be.
That's completely planned out.
Yeah, that's completely planned
We just
out already.
haven't read the script yet.
We already did a how-to. We've done some set building, so we may be
might
doing
do
a history
of.
Yeah, we
look
might
at that.
Yeah, we might be doing a history of probably now. That is what's going to happen.
See how we had that all figured out.
A history of show. But I will be, as you know, our new schedule is we're not doing Monday shows anymore. But we are doing
You are
Wednesday. Yes, we are doing Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. We have our rebrick challenge going on, the rebricking the Mandalorian and Child set. And on Mondays, instead of doing our morning show, I now do an afternoon show on Twitch where I just build. It's called a build and chill at this point. It's very Bob Ross. It's very like just. Hey, let's hang out
little bricks
and talk about stupid stuff while I build this particular whatever set it is that I'm working on. So hopefully we'll see you there, 2 p.m. PST on Twitch on Mondays. And gosh, thanks everybody so much, Holly, Minifig Chick, and Moto for joining us today and giving us all of your many opinions on on collabs, and I think maybe we've changed some people's minds about collaborations today and the different things they
For
might
better or worse.
I appreciate what a wide set of perspectives are on the screen right now. Like you all brought different perspectives on collaboration. That was cool.
Oh, history! I'm seeing Darren Siegfried's asking for a history of Aquazone. And Fourth World Adam says he's the dude for that. So, okay, Fourth World Adam, maybe we should do History of Aquazone, and I'll give you a call and we can talk about it.
Yeah. If you do that one, you've got to do Rock Raiders at some point.
That one, yes. So there we go.
They're all kind of good themes.
They are good themes. Well, all right. Well, thanks everybody. We will see you either Monday at 2 p.m. on Twitch or Wednesday on at 10 a.m. for this history of something that we're doing. I have no idea.
And you know what, TrickyBricks, you can go back and watch it on YouTube. All of our almost 200 episodes are there.
I think she's seen at least a few of them.
Okay.
By the way, that's coming up soon. 200th episode is happening soon. I can't even believe it.
What's the date? Do you guys know the date?
Anyone has a question?
What was that? Moto?
Do you know what date, the exact date the 200th episode falls on?
Well, I'm kind of bummed right now because it's set for a Wednesday.
Okay.
But we have a crazy idea.
We either have to do 2 extra shows to make it a Sunday, or we need to axe 1 show. So either one. We either need to skip a show or
do we have any holidays we can
I don't know.
Okay,
so
I'll just put it out there and say I don't know if we could get it together in time before 200th episode, but I was suggesting we do a short evening episode, like around 6 o'clock Pacific time or something, just something easy. Like I wouldn't want to get in the way of dinner, but that we could add an episode by maybe doing a surprise evening episode.
Well, the Europeans couldn't join us.
I was going to say our Euros will be.
Yeah, we would miss out on a lot.
No, but you get New Zealand and Australia.
But
right.
But still, either way, we'll figure out which of those things we're gonna do. Obviously, we're gonna have to figure that out really fast.
Well, just make it about Logan. So Logan Appreciation Night. Then you'll get everybody.
Ooh, I like that.
Nice.
I'm gonna go ahead and call it now. That's gonna have the most views of all.
Guaranteed. Logan Appreciation Night would have the most views.
I know.
The story of Logan. Oh, do the history of Logan, just like you do the history of a set.
Oh, that would be a short show. It'd be like
A day
a
in the life.
5-minute show.
About
Yeah.
about 3/4 of the show would be don't jump up, don't jump up.
And then the other quarter would be sleeping. So
I don't see anything wrong with this show.
I
Yeah.
don't see anything wrong with
I'm
it.
here for
whatsoever.
that.
okay. Well, thank you, everybody, and we will see you either tomorrow or on Wednesday. And until next time, don't forget to stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, wear your mask,
Two of them.
get your flu shot, keep your distance, and we will
All the
see you
things.
next time. Bye, everyone.
Happy building.